In Buddhism, the cycle of birth and rebirth, known as samsara, is the endless turning of existence. For most beings, it feels like an infinite loop, joy followed by suffering, gain followed by loss, life followed by death. Yet the Buddha taught that liberation is possible. There comes a point when the soul has learned enough, purified enough, and awakened enough to complete this cycle. Some signs reveal that you may be approaching your final life. These signs are not about external success or recognition, but about the deep shifts in your inner being. How you see the world, how you carry yourself, and how you relate to others. If you recognize them within yourself, it may mean you are closer to freedom than you think. In this teaching, we will explore 10 powerful signs that indicate you are living your last life cycle. 1. Detachment from material desires. One of the clearest signs that you may be in your final life cycle is the gradual release of attachment to material possessions. For most of human history, people have been driven by the endless pursuit of wealth, comfort, and status. But as your soul nears liberation, these things no longer hold the same power over you. You may still work, earn, and live in this world, but deep inside, you no longer chase after material success as if it were the source of happiness. This detachment is not about neglecting responsibilities or rejecting life. It is about recognizing the impermanent nature of all things. A new car, a bigger house, or expensive clothing may bring temporary satisfaction, but you see them now as fleeting. What once looked like treasures now appear like passing clouds. Nice to see, but not something to cling to. For men especially, society has long tied identity to achievement, status, and accumulation. But when you are closer to the end of samsara, your sense of worth no longer depends on these external measures. You find joy in simplicity. A quiet walk, a genuine conversation, or the sound of rain may bring you more peace than any possession. This shift is not forced. It happens naturally as wisdom deepens. You begin to understand that true wealth lies in freedom of mind, compassion of heart, and clarity of spirit. When desire loses its grip and contentment arises from within, you are seeing life with the eyes of liberation. Detachment from material cravings shows that you are no longer bound to the illusions of the world. It is a powerful sign that your soul has nearly completed its journey. 2. Deep compassion for all beings. Another powerful sign that you are in your last life cycle is the awakening of deep and unconditional compassion. This is not the shallow kindness that depends on convenience or reward, but a profound empathy that flows naturally toward all beings, human or animal, friend or stranger, even those who have wronged you. When compassion arises in this way, it is not an effort. You no longer need to convince yourself to forgive, to help, or to care. It becomes your nature. You see suffering in others and feel it within yourself, as if there is no separation. This is a clear mark of spiritual maturity, for the boundaries of self and other begin to dissolve. For men especially, compassion is often mistaken for weakness. Yet in the wisdom of the Buddha, compassion is the highest strength. It is the courage to remain open-hearted in a world that often rewards hardness. It is the ability to see beyond ego and act from love instead of fear. You may notice that your priorities shift. Success feels empty unless it uplifts others. Conversations become more about listening than proving a point. Even small acts, like feeding an animal or speaking kindly to a stranger, carry deep meaning. You realize that every being shares the same longing for happiness and freedom from pain. This compassion does not mean you allow others to misuse you. Instead, it means you respond with wisdom. You help where you can, you forgive where it is needed, and you walk away when it protects peace. Your compassion is balanced with clarity. When compassion becomes the natural language of your soul, it shows you are close to liberation. This is not a passing mood. It is the fragrance of enlightenment itself. 3. A calm mind amid chaos. Another sign that you may be in your final life cycle is the presence of calmness, even when the world around you is in turmoil. Most people are easily shaken by challenges, insults, or unexpected events. But when your soul has matured through countless lifetimes, your response to chaos changes. Instead of reacting with anger, fear, or despair, you remain steady like a mountain. This does not mean life becomes easier or free from problems. Difficulties still come: financial struggles, relationship conflicts, health challenges. But what changes is the way you meet them. You no longer drown in the storm, you learn to walk through it with quiet dignity. Where others panic, you breathe. Where others curse, you reflect. Where others fight, you choose peace. For men especially, the pressure to prove strength through aggression is constant. Yet true strength is not in shouting louder or striking harder. It is in the ability to stay unshaken when life tests you. Calmness is not passivity, it is mastery. It is the power to choose clarity over confusion, wisdom over impulse. When you reach this stage, you notice how little outside noise affects your inner state. Gossip loses its sting. Criticism feels lighter. Even sudden losses do not crush you the way they once did. You live from a deeper center that no storm can destroy. This calmness does not come overnight. It is the fruit of long practice, meditation, and the lessons of many lives. When it becomes your natural way of being, it signals that you are close to breaking free from samsara. The calm mind is not a temporary state, it is a reflection of awakening. It shows that you are no longer bound by the chaos of the world, but guided by the peace of truth. 4. Attraction to solitude and silence. A powerful sign that you are in your last life cycle is the natural pull towards solitude and silence. While most people feel restless when alone, you begin to find peace in it. You no longer need constant noise, distractions, or social approval to feel alive. Instead, silence feels like nourishment, and solitude becomes a sanctuary. This does not mean you reject people or isolate yourself in bitterness. Rather, it means you value time with yourself because it deepens your awareness. You see how noise and endless chatter often keep people trapped in illusion, running from themselves. But when you sit alone in stillness, you find clarity, strength, and inner joy. For men especially, society often pushes the idea that your worth is proven in the crowd, through achievements, recognition, and competition. But when your soul is nearing liberation, you realize the opposite. The greatest battles are fought within, and the greatest victories are invisible. Solitude allows you to face your mind directly, without escape. You may find yourself enjoying meditation, quiet walks, or simply sitting without doing anything. Silence no longer feels empty, it feels full. It carries wisdom, presence, and a closeness to truth that no distraction can offer. In solitude, you also learn compassion for yourself. You stop chasing approval and start honoring your own journey. Relationships become a choice, not a dependency. You connect with others out of love, not out of fear of being alone. When solitude becomes your teacher and silence becomes your companion, it reveals deep ripening of the soul. It shows that you no longer fear yourself, you have found peace within. This attraction to solitude is not loneliness. It is the beginning of liberation. It is a clear sign that you may be walking your final life on earth. 5. Freedom from fear of death. One of the strongest signs that you are nearing the end of samsara is the disappearance of fear around death. Most people live their entire lives avoiding the thought of mortality. They distract themselves, deny it, or cling desperately to youth and health. But when your soul has matured, death no longer appears as an enemy. It becomes a doorway you are ready to walk through when the time comes. This freedom does not mean you are careless with life. In fact, it deepens your gratitude for every breath, every sunrise, every chance to love and grow. You live fully, but without clinging. Death is seen as part of the natural rhythm of existence, no different from the setting of the sun or the falling of autumn leaves. For men especially, the fear of death often hides behind the pursuit of legacy, achievement, or dominance. Attempts to leave something behind that proves they lived. But when wisdom awakens, you no longer need monuments or recognition. You realize that impermanence touches everything and nothing needs to be clung to. What matters is how you lived, not how long. This acceptance brings immense peace. The thought of death does not tighten your chest, it softens your heart. You use time wisely, not wasting it in resentment or endless ambition. You live in presence knowing that this moment is all that is truly yours. When the fear of death falls away, life becomes lighter. You are no longer chained by the unknown. You see that the self you have been protecting so fiercely is not permanent. It is a passing wave in the ocean of existence. This realization marks deep spiritual maturity. Freedom from the fear of death is a profound sign that the soul is completing its journey and approaching the liberation of nirvana. 6. A natural desire to serve others. As you near the end of the life cycle, a deep and natural desire to serve others arises within you. Unlike earlier stages of existence, where service may have been tied to recognition, reward, or hidden motives, this service flows without agenda. Helping others becomes as natural as breathing, because you see their happiness and your own as inseparable. This service is not about grand gestures alone. It may show in simple ways, offering guidance to someone in pain, giving time to listen, sharing food, or even offering silent prayers for those who suffer. The act itself matters less than the intention. When compassion ripens, you give without asking, and you help without needing to be seen. For men especially, society often defines strength in terms of dominance or control. But in true Buddhist wisdom, strength is measured by your ability to lift others without expecting anything in return. Service is not weakness. It is mastery over the ego. To serve is to prove that love is stronger than selfishness. You may notice that when others suffer, you cannot turn away. Their pain feels like your own, and their joy fills you with peace. This shows that your sense of separation from others is dissolving. You no longer see yourself as just one individual fighting for survival. You see yourself as part of a larger whole. Service also becomes a source of joy. Instead of draining you, it energizes you because it aligns with your truest nature. When you give, you feel expanded. When you help, you feel free. This is because your soul has already loosened its grip on self-centered desire, and what remains is pure goodwill. When serving others becomes the heartbeat of your life, it reveals that you are walking close to the final liberation. It is a living sign that you have nearly completed your journey through samsara. 7. Non-attachment to ego and identity. Another sign that you are in your last life cycle is the loosening grip of ego. For most people, life revolves around the self, defending opinions, protecting image, building status, and seeking validation. But as your soul matures, this obsession with me begins to dissolve. You no longer feel the constant need to prove who you are because you see that identity itself is fluid, impermanent, and not your true essence. This does not mean you lack confidence or direction. In fact, it means the opposite. You move with greater freedom because you are no longer chained to defending an image. Criticism does not wound you as deeply, and praise does not inflate you. You see both as passing winds. What matters is the truth of your actions, not the opinions of others. For men especially, society often builds ego around dominance, pride, and control. But real strength is not in holding a rigid identity. It is in the humility to be open, adaptable, and grounded. Non-attachment to ego frees you from endless battles of superiority and comparison. You no longer need to be the smartest, the strongest, or the most successful to feel whole. You simply are. This humility does not weaken you. Instead, it makes you unshakable. When you are no longer bound to ego, insults lose their poison, and competition loses its grip. You no longer need to step on others to rise. You rise naturally through wisdom and authenticity. When your sense of self becomes lighter, life itself becomes lighter. You are not constantly at war with the world. You can admit mistakes, forgive easily, and learn without resistance. This is the fruit of many lifetimes of growth. Non-attachment to ego is one of the clearest signs of nearing liberation. It shows that you are not defined by illusions, but guided by truth. It is the freedom of knowing who you are beyond identity itself. 8. Living in the present moment. Another clear sign that you are nearing your last life cycle is the ability to live fully in the present. Most people are trapped either in regrets of the past or anxieties about the future. Their minds wander endlessly, never allowing them to experience life as it is. But when your soul has ripened through countless lifetimes, your awareness settles naturally into the here and now. Living in the present does not mean you forget responsibilities or stop planning. It means you no longer lose yourself in them. You plan, but you're not consumed by worry. You remember, but you're not chained by regret. Your attention rests on what is happening right now, the breath you take, the food you eat, the person you are speaking with. This is where real life unfolds. For men especially, society often glorifies relentless ambition, always chasing the next goal, the next success, the next proof of worth. But when wisdom matures, you realize the future is not yet real and the past cannot be changed. The only place of true power is the present. And in that awareness, even the simplest actions, washing dishes, walking in nature, sitting in silence, become profound. When you live in the present, you suffer less. Anxiety fades because you are not lost in what might happen. Guilt softens because you are not clinging to what has already passed. Peace arises naturally because you are aligned with reality. This presence is also deeply attractive to others. People feel calm and safe around you because your energy is grounded, not scattered. You are truly there when you are with them, and this kind of presence is rare. When the present moment becomes your home, it shows you are close to liberation. You are no longer trapped in the illusions of time. You are living in the eternal now. 9. Intuition and inner wisdom. A powerful sign that you are in your last life cycle is the strengthening of intuition and inner wisdom. Most people rely heavily on external guidance, opinions, and logic alone to navigate life. But as your soul matures, you begin to notice an inner voice, subtle, calm, and unwavering, guiding you with clarity that surpasses reasoning. This intuition is not wishful thinking or a random impulse. It is the culmination of lifetimes of learning, of observing cause and effect, of understanding the impermanence of all things. You begin to trust your gut, not because it is always convenient, but because it aligns with truth. Decisions that once seemed complicated now feel simple. You know the right path without hesitation, and the wrong path carries a subtle inner discomfort you can no longer ignore. For men especially, society often emphasizes logic, power, and control. But inner wisdom transcends these. It is a quiet strength that speaks without shouting, a compass that guides without maps. You no longer need constant validation or external proof. Your inner knowing becomes enough. You may also notice synchronicities, a sense of timing, and an understanding of events beyond the surface. Life seems to unfold with a deeper intelligence, and you are able to respond to challenges with grace rather than reaction. Your choices increasingly reflect not your ego, but the wisdom of countless experiences. When your intuition becomes reliable, and inner wisdom directs your actions, it shows that your consciousness has matured. You are no longer a beginner in the dance of life. This alignment with inner truth is a sign that your final lessons in samsara are unfolding and that liberation is near. 10. A sense of completion and acceptance. The final sign that you are in your last life cycle is a profound sense of completion and acceptance. You no longer struggle against life as if it owes you something. The constant striving, the endless if-onlys, the dissatisfaction with what is, all of it begins to dissolve. You understand that every experience, every challenge, every joy and sorrow has led you to this moment. Acceptance does not mean passivity. It does not mean giving up or tolerating injustice. It means seeing life clearly, without the filters of resentment, regret, or craving. You can act decisively, but without desperation or attachment to outcomes. You flow with life, rather than fighting against it, knowing that resistance only creates suffering. For men especially, the drive to control, conquer, or prove oneself can dominate life. But nearing your final life, you realize that control is an illusion. True mastery lies in embracing reality as it is, in seeing the impermanence of all things, and in letting go gracefully when necessary. Completion brings serenity because you understand the bigger picture. The cycle is ending, and you are prepared. You may notice a quiet contentment in simple moments, a smile from a stranger, a quiet morning, or the warmth of a loved one. You no longer demand more. You simply appreciate what is. Even the pain that remains is softened by this awareness, because it is seen as part of the natural rhythm of existence. This sense of completion is the hallmark of a soul ready to transcend. It is a peaceful knowing that you have learned your lessons, cultivated wisdom, and aligned with truth. When this acceptance arises, it signals that liberation is near, and your journey through samsara is reaching its final enlightened stage. Conclusion. Recognizing these 10 signs within yourself is a profound invitation to reflect on your spiritual journey. Detachment from desires, deep compassion, calmness, a love for solitude, freedom from fear, selfless service, release from ego, presence, intuition, and a sense of completion, all point to a soul that is nearing the end of its cycles of rebirth. For men and women alike, these signs are not mere ideals. They are living indicators of awakening. They show that your inner being has ripened, that the lessons of countless lifetimes are settling, and that liberation is no longer a distant dream. Embrace these signs consciously, live with awareness, and honor the profound opportunity of this last life cycle. This is your chance to walk fully awake, to act with wisdom, and to move gracefully toward freedom. Liberation is not a future possibility. It begins here and now.